One of the most common things that I hear from people who are learning how to tie knots is that they have a hard time remembering the different knots that are out there and how to tie them. Well, today I want to make a short video to show you how to tie 4 different knots that are broke down into the most simplest knot there is, and that is the overhand knot. So this video is for people who find themselves having a hard time remembering how to tie knots. Most people will know the overhand knot. The overhand knot is used as a simple stopper knot in most cases, but it can even be used as a light binding knot as well. And I'm going to show you how to, by using just the overhand knot, how to create a couple of other knots. So here we go. So the first 2 knots that we're going to do with the overhand knot are fixed loop knots. So what we want to do is we want to start at the end of a rope and create an overhand knot, and then we're going to snug that up. Now we're going to come down the end of the length of the rope a little ways. In our case, probably about 16, 18 inches. And we're going to create another overhand knot. This time we're going to leave it just slightly loose. Now we'll take our end where we have our overhand knot tied, and we'll just slip it right back down inside of that overhand knot. And then we'll tighten up the second one. Tighten that one up. And now as the second overhand knot bumps against it, you've created yourself a simple fixed loop knot, and this is known as the arbor knot. This next variation of a fixed loop knot utilizing the overhand knot is called the Englishman's Loop, and this one's actually a little bit better. So this one we're going to start a little bit differently. First we're going to tie the overhand knot that goes in the line first. So we'll tie a simple overhand knot about 16, 18 inches down the rope. Then we're going to take the end of our rope, our working end, and we're going to go back down through that overhand knot. Now we want, with the tail, we're going to tie another overhand knot, only this time we're going to make sure that we capture the standing end. So we're just going to tie a simple overhand knot that goes around the standing end, and then we'll snug that knot up. Then we'll snug our original overhand knot up, and now we can pull them apart. And this creates another fixed loop knot. This one is known as the Englishman's Loop, and I actually like this one a little bit better than that first one. Now the next 2 knots that we're going to look at are bend knots. These are used to tie 2 lines together, and we're going to be using one of the most simplified forms of this. So to start with, we'll tie a moderately loose overhand knot in our first line. Now with our second line, all we want to do is we want to just retrace that overhand knot, but going in the opposite direction with the other line. So we'll go down through, we'll come around, let's get ourselves a little bit more tail. We'll go around, and then we'll just follow this one right back out, just tracing along that original overhand knot. Make sure that we get everything so that it lays in there correctly, and then we can pull them apart. And this is one of the most simple bend knots that you can make. This one is called the water knot, and it's generally used to tie webbing and strap together, but you can use it in rope and line as well. Now keep in mind that this knot will jam incredibly tightly, and likely you'll have to cut it off to get it apart. Now this last knot is a simplified version of a knot that I use quite a little bit to make loops. This one is called the Fisherman's Bend. So we're just going to make the single Fisherman's Bend. We're going to have our 2 lines facing opposite of one another. And then with one line, we're going to create our overhand knot so that it goes around and captures the other line. We'll tie a simple overhand knot. And then we'll, going in the opposite direction, now with the other line, we'll again tie a simple overhand knot, making sure that we capture the standing end of the other line. So we've just created 2 overhand knots that go around the opposing standing parts. Now when we pull those 2 knots together, the 2 overhand knots jam together, and this creates what's known as the Fisherman's Bend. Now usually this is tied with the double or the triple Fisherman's Bend, but I wanted to show the simplified version, which utilizes just a simple overhand knot. So those are 4 different knots for those that have trouble remembering how to tie knots using just the simple overhand knot, which I believe pretty much everybody out there knows. I hope this is helpful for those that find themselves having trouble remembering how to tie certain knots. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.